Hey, welcome to Happy Tales of Happy Tales, the podcast where you'll hear stories of the way pups have touched our hearts and our lives. So, for the next few minutes, let everything else go and just listen and smile. I'm your host, Julie Jackson.
Malbec, you did say hi.
Hi, buddy.
Oh, he went to the door. Malbec.
Oh, I can
He
see him
thinks
in the
I'm like
mirror too. He's so
when I say
sweet.
if I say oh, someone's here or say hi, he thinks I mean someone's actually here, so he goes to the door.
Because
I'm
he's
like, you're
so
too
smart.
smart for your own good.
Oh, that's so smart. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited.
So, first, for everyone who doesn't have the pleasure of knowing, tell us about Malbec, introduce him, and then let her rip.
Oh, well, gosh, Malbec is he is a rescue mutt. I like to say he is probably one of the most like Heinz 57 dogs. I did get his DNA done, and he has a little bit of, I like to say, pretty much every dog except for like the little dogs, because he ended up being a lot bigger than I anticipated. I used to work with rescue organizations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I actually had a foster dog at the time, and they sent out a call for transport help needs. And I was like, I'll help transport, but I can't foster right now. Like, I'm getting my foster adopted on Sunday. It was a Friday. I was like, I just need a minute. Um, and then they sent me a picture of 11 puppies from a litter that was an accident, um and Malbec was like in the middle of the picture, and his puppy picture, I mean, he just sort of looks almost like he could have been a like Saint Bernard or
Mhm.
a Bernese Mountain Dog, and both of those looks are type like dogs that I just have always gravitated towards. And so I was like, oh no, like
This is not going to end the way I thought.
I was like, well, by the time I got there, one of my girlfriends rode with me, and by the time I got there, we had convinced each other that I would at least foster two of the puppies, and Malbec, and this one would be one of them. And at the time, I was on the hunt for my own dog, but I was fostering in the meantime until I found it. And my expectation was I was going to adopt a like year old. Puppies get adopted so easily. So like a year old dog that just might need some training, which was totally fine with me. Could be active, could go kayaking and other things with me. And when I saw these puppies, I basically told the foster group, I was like, I don't know who you have lined up to foster these dogs, but I'm transporting, so I get first dibs, and I'm taking these two with me. And not only did I not want a puppy, I didn't think I wanted a male. We grew up with all female dogs.
Mhm.
So my uncle had a male dog and had some tendencies that were not my favorite. And so I had just had this perspective in my mind that like I would always have a female dog. And so when I grabbed him and I turned him over, I was like, oh man. And I was like, well, I've never had a male. I had never even had a male foster. I always fostered females. And and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get him and his blonde sister. So they were very similar looking, but one was blonde and one was darker. And I ended up fostering the two of them. And I was goner like from that night. Like I pretty much, and this actually proves why. Like I wasn't admitting it to myself. However, we ended up naming we in rescue you always theme the litters to keep track of them, and we ended up theming the litter the wine litter because I like wine. And When I took the two of them, I was like, definitely taking this one. So, he needs to be a wine I like. And they were like, well, what's your favorite wine? And I said, Malbec. So,
Oh,
yeah. And then his sister, one of my friends actually ended up adopting her.
oh,
So
good.
they have gotten to sort of grow up together. So yeah, that's how Malbec and I came to be. And he is now 6 years old. Um, and he just travels everywhere with me. I
So,
love it.
what was his sister's wine name?
His sister's wine name was one of my least favorite wines, actually. And I started to correct them when they gave it to her, but they had already given some of the other females some of the better names. And I wasn't like really I wasn't thinking, but, and no offense to anyone if they like this wine, but it's Moscato. It's just
Oh,
not for me.
so what is her name now?
Her name now is Luna Winter.
Oh,
Luna Winter, spelled Wyntr.
oh, but they still
Yeah.
get to see each other. So,
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've relocated. However, she now has relocated to Florida, not too far from here. So, because I'm right outside of Jacksonville, Florida, and she's now near like the Cocoa Beach area, so Melbourne Beach area, so not too far.
oh,
So I
nice.
expect we will probably see them again.
Well, he's so precious and y'all have such a sweet relationship. So, what are some of your favorite stories about him? I'm sure you have plenty.
Gosh, I could go on and on. I mean, I think, you know, he has just been such a good travel partner. I have a camper and I actually, so like if you do like camping or anything like that, a lot of campers make their own like stickers and stuff like that. So I actually have my water bottle here and this is our sticker,
Oh, I
Rome with
love it.
Lisa. And it says Rome with Lisa and Malbec, and it has my little camper at the top. It's a little bright up here. The little camper at the top, and then it has me and Malbec in like cartoon, and it's on my big water bottle that I put all of our like travel stuff on. But yeah, he's basically my co-pilot, and we have been across country 3 times, and he's probably more well traveled than a lot of humans I know. He's been to probably more like national parks than a lot of humans I know. And hey, don't come at me, people that know that national parks are not super dog friendly. Um, I've got a camper that's fully like I can live in it and everything else. So we typically will drive through where we can, and we find the dog friendly areas. Um, but yeah, he is the best travel partner. He will go kayak. He will pretty much. He knows, like he's very trusting of me. He will go kayaking with me
Oh.
if I tell him to get on something, even if he gives me that look first, like, I'm not so sure about this, mom. Eventually he usually does. So he's pretty trusting. People always comment, like I have a few photos of us like in front of the Grand Canyon sign or some other signs. And because I'm typically a solo traveler with just him, to get photos, you have to get creative. And so I'll put him up like at the sign and then like run like 10, 15 feet away so that I can selfie me, but get the whole sign in it. And he'll just sit there and like sometimes he'll cry a little because he's like, what are you doing? Like, this is
Yeah, where are you
embarrassing.
going? Yeah.
Um, but he'll stay there and let me take a picture. And sometimes it's so funny because then people will like come up and they'll be like, "Do you want us to get you guys together?" And I'm like, "No, it's sort of our thing."
we we have a deal.
And like,
So,
this is sort of like we now have an album of all of these photos, and whether it's in front of a national park or just a really fun, like art people are doing a lot of art like on walls in
Hmm.
towns, and like we went to Cheyenne, and which is
Oh
a really
yeah.
cool town, by the way.
Yep.
And they had a big art installation with Cheyenne on the wall, and we either do the selfie thing, or if there's somewhere to prop my phone up, I now have like a tripod, so I try to get some of the more professional looking photos when I
Right.
can. But
I don't know. I really love the
um,
selfie thing though, with him back there. Like,
yeah, it's fun. I know. And you can tell sometimes because I'll like talk to him. So I'm like it's just us. And I'm like, people are like passing us on the side of the road. And I'm like talking to him, like taking a selfie. They're probably like, what is this girl doing? She's crazy. Um, but yes, I end up with some fun photos. So yeah, he has been, we went out. I was gone for gosh, several months. One of the trips where we drove out through Arizona and up into Utah, and then
mm,
to Yellowstone and Tetons, and then back up through Yellowstone to Big Sky, Montana.
yep.
And Malbec came with me, and I'll tell you what, like he he thought the buffalo were very interesting. I have a video of us in Yellowstone just driving really slow by like a group of buffalo. I'm not really sure, or bison, I guess. I don't know
Yeah.
what I think it's bison in Yellowstone. Um, I'm not sure like what the herd name of them are, but we were going by, and they're looking at him and making noises, and he's looking out there, but he was not making a peep. He was just sort of like staring at them like, what is that thing?
Right.
But
Totally
and then he
fascinating.
kind of looks, over his shoulder at me like, are you still there? Are you going to protect me?
Oh, so
um,
sweet.
but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's always fun because, because I'm able to travel with him. It's fun because a lot of people that are on vacation and are traveling have left their dogs at home.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes people come up, oh, can we pet your dog? We miss our dog so much. And he'll usually, if I ask him to sit down, he'll sit down. And then when people start to approach him, he just lays down and rolls over, and it's like, you can pet my belly. Um, so,
Oh.
he's a bit of a ham sometimes if you ever see us out, and it's fun to allow people to have that little bit of taste of home with their missing their dog.
Okay, and I'm that people, so thank you
No, oh,
because
I know
I'm
you are, because I know we stopped while we were on our run, and we were both like, should we stop? Should we stop? And we were like the only ones. Everybody else is worried about finishing the run, the 10K or whichever one it was that we were
we're
on.
like, no.
And we're like, no, we're like, golden retriever, stop. Okay, we're stopping.
Always stop for the dog. I know, always stop for
Exactly.
the dog. So it's funny when you talk about him rolling over for so that people can pet his belly. We were
Mm-hmm.
actually in London, and this lady came walking down the street with her. It was a little bitty dachshund, so cute, tiny little dachshund. And we come walking up, and same thing. We were like, "Oh my gosh, we miss our dogs. Can we pet your dog?" And it's so funny because just then we were like, "What's your dog's name?" The dog's name was Pickle,
Oh
and
my gosh,
and as
how
soon as
cute.
we went to pet Pickle, Pickle did the same thing and flipped over on her back. And so ever since then, we call it pulling a pickle.
Oh,
So
that's
now
so funny.
people probably think we're nuts
That's
because we're
so
that, we're
funny.
that family, and we'll be out and we'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, can we pet your dog?" And they do that, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they're pulling a pickle."
Oh, that's so cute. It's so interesting because Malbec has done that since he was a puppy. When I first got him, I used to take him to a local dog bar that's in Charlotte called Lucky Dog. And my friend who ended up adopting his sister would meet me up there, and I would bring both puppies so that she could
Oh,
see the puppy until she was able to have it, because it was like during the holidays and everything, and people were going out of town. And so I was like, I'll keep both dogs until after the holidays. And so, but I would meet her there. And from when he was a little puppy, like when other dogs would come up, even he would just roll over and like put his leg up. And so now he, as an adult, he does it to people. He doesn't do it so much to dogs anymore, but he does do it to people.
Just
It's
like,
like he
here we are.
trusts people more than dogs, I think. He's just
Yeah.
like, he doesn't really care
Oh,
too
he's
much
so
for,
sweet though.
he's a sweet boy. He is.
So I know y'all have done so many different things. Does he seem to have a favorite kind of activity or like a favorite climate? Or is he just so happy to do whatever it is that y'all are doing together?
I mean, I think honestly, like I said, he's just so trusting of me that I think he pretty much just wants to be wherever I am. And I think a lot of people are dealing with that, especially after like the pandemic and being home for so long. I'm fortunate enough to still be someone who is working remote. And I have the opportunity to go into the office, but for the most part, I am working remote. And so, I have been with him every single day. So, like, he now knows, like, even if I'm just getting dressed to, like, like outside of just like casual clothes, if I'm getting dressed and like putting makeup on and stuff, he like comes and stares at me and like starts just to like mope because he like knows that I'm going to be leaving him.
Yes.
Um, and I have to either say like, you know, buddy, you have to stay here, or I'll let him know that he's allowed to come. And then but I can't say that too soon because then he'll drive me crazy, like crying at the door, like you said we were going
You
somewhere.
gave me this, you gave me the sign.
Exactly. But I do think that um he really enjoyed being in the climate, like in the like west, not far west, but like Arizona, Utah, Montana.
Mhm.
But I also think that had to do with just how active we were during that trip. And it was just he and and I don't like to leave him, even though my rig is set up to where it's completely insulated, it has AC and heat and everything else. I don't like to leave him in it for too long, by
Mhm.
himself. And so I took him everywhere. And he just really enjoyed, like, he likes to explore like I like to explore. So he gets excited like jumping out of the camper and like seeing where we are and what's around. And especially if there's water, like, do not get him near water if he's not allowed to go in, because he will go in. And he
Oh.
loves to go swimming. And that is probably his favorite. So we live at the beach now, and I take him up to the beach on our walks. But sometimes I'm like, I'm sick of the sand, buddy. We're not going to go up to the beach today. And he knows every single beach access, and he'll just like pull me towards it. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'm like, that's mean. If I'm like, we live at the beach, like you should be able to go to the beach. So, but yeah, he's definitely a lover of water and streams, and anything that he can
Oh.
get into, he will do it.
Sorry,
Mhm.
I keep getting distracted because I keep seeing him.
I know
I'm
he's
like,
right here.
hi,
Malbec. Let's
buddy.
see
I
if
can
I
see
can get
him.
the camera. Becky boy.
Hi,
Malbec,
buddy.
just say hi.
Hi, there you are. Oh, you did big floofy tail. I love your
What's up?
freckles. I love his freckles so much. Oh, he's a good boy.
He's
He's
like,
like,
Mom, what do you do
yeah. He's like, wait, this isn't my meeting. This is yours. It is yours, Malbec. You just didn't know it.
Exactly. Yeah, so he's definitely a water dog. He loves the water.
So, what do you think you've learned from him?
Oh my. Um, I mean, I think that just he's just so like loyal. And I mean, he can be, I mean, again, because of like the pandemic and everything, I think that he does have a little bit of an attachment problem. But um but that's okay, I don't mind. I think he's just, I love, there's no, actually I can picture it now because I was actually just putting together a couple weeks ago a video of some travels that we've done together. And we were in Lake Powell in it's right on the Arizona, the Utah border. And we were there, and I was working East Coast time, even though we were on West Coast or Mountain time. And so I would have I kept that that routine, and so we would
Mm-hmm.
go walking in the morning, like really early, and there'd be like nobody up. And at Lake Powell, the water has gone down. The water level is down so low that there's a huge beach. I mean, it might be almost a mile like long to get to the water. Um, and so I would just take him off leash because there's nobody around.
Yeah.
And he would just take off like towards that water. And like he just gets so excited when, he knows that like he's with someone that he trusts and he loves, and he just he just lets loose and just like lets go. And it's just so fun to see him like get so excited. And I feel like oftentimes we are, either afraid of like what other people might think or what we might look like. And here's this goofy kid just like kicking up sand and like just booking it towards the water. Doesn't even like look what's in the water, just in it, and he does that like coming out of the camper. Like if anybody has ever had a camper before, when you open the camper door, like I can like visualize it perfectly because he's always just like right with me, like, let's go, like what are we going to look at? And so like he's just as adventurous as I am. And I think during the pandemic, that's when I got the camper. And I don't think I would have ever done it if I didn't have him, like I don't know that I would have just gone by myself. I had a comfort like in having him with me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that's when you got it. I just thought that y'all had been doing this forever.
Oh no. Yeah, no, like I mean, because that's when, I was able to be so flexible with work. And
Mhm.
so nobody was allowed to come back into the office. I didn't have an office to go to. No. And I'm such an avid traveler that I started to get the travel itch. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
the only way I can travel right now is if I have something contained where I can, because bathrooms weren't open, like public restrooms
Yeah.
weren't open. So I had thought about getting a camper van for a long time. And I was like, when else am I going to have this opportunity to like work from the road, but still be safe and,
Yeah.
be able to take him with me? Like, cause like standard travels that I was doing before where you are, going on a plane, going outside the United States or whatnot. You can't take, I mean, you could, but like you can't really take easily your dog with you. And so I was like, you know what? I was like, this is my excuse to just go ahead and do it. And so, yeah, I sold my house and bought a camper van, and Malbec and I pretty much just lived on the road for a while.
I love that so
um,
much. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's such an amazing story. And
it was fun.
traveling, I mean, and traveling overseas, traveling anywhere is great, but I'm very much a national park girl too.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I feel bad for people who never have that
You
experience.
know, I'll tell you what, it also really did. I was really nervous about the national parks because I knew that they were not as dog friendly, and I was going to
Hmm.
have him with me. However, I will say there is nothing like traveling via road trip versus just in and out in a plane, because
Yes.
you see so much more. I mean, my friend and I were actually driving back, and I had Malbec, and actually her dog as well with us at this on this trip. We were driving from Arizona and headed towards White Plains National Park, and we passed by the proper Tombstone, and like
Oh,
the town Tombstone,
yes.
and like we saw the signs, and we were like on our way, and we kind of had a schedule because it was like towards the tail end of our trip. And I was like, well, what do you think? And she was like, I don't know, what do you think? And I was like, I mean, we're here. Like, why,
Yeah.
like, why
Why
not?
not?
So we just like pulled off and it's not just right off the road though, so it was a little like misleading, but um yeah, so we just like pulled off and went to Tombstone and like, that you can't get with a normal travel schedule. And I feel like I'm I was one of those people who sort of looked down on, because I'm from a military family and so we moved like every 3 years. And so I've seen a lot of the US, right? But
Yeah.
more as a youth and young adult, not as an adult. And so I sort of was like, I had turned my focus to outside the US, and every year I would do an outside the US, and I kind of looked down on doing travel within the United States. And this just turned my opinion so drastically. There are some of the most beautiful states and areas in the United States, and I have
Hmm.
been a lot of places outside the United States, and the diversity in like Yellowstone and
Yes.
Montana in terms of what you can see and the differences between just miles from each other is so incredible that I agree with you. I mean, it's just unfortunate that more people don't experience the US, and are so focused on, these big luxury travel trips, because they're really missing out. And
Yes.
some of these little towns that you stop at in between are just so amazing, and you just meet the coolest people.
That's so true. When I was a kid, my parents, we did a lot of road trips and we had the station wagon. And I remember they would
Yeah.
set me up in the
Did it
back,
have wood paneling on the
we did
car?
have one with that. Yes, we did.
So did
And
we.
and my dad from work, they had Suburbans too, but that was before Suburbans were cool. That was when they were like
Right.
utilitarian,
Right.
work
Yes.
vehicles. And he put like a camper mattress in the back and I'd get
Heck
all set
yeah.
up with, all my entertainment. And we would set out early one morning and I used to laugh that it was like as much ground as we could cover for 1 week and then as much ground back. And I
Yeah.
no kidding, when I was a kid, if we'd stay in little hotel motels along the way. And at one point I was like, why do they have closets? Why do they have drawers? I couldn't
Yeah.
figure. I was like,
Who's
why would they?
actually staying that long?
Right. I mean, I was like, we would be, if we were there 12 hours, that was, because, and
Yes. My dad was that kind of traveler. He was
yes,
like, it wasn't a journey for him. It was a like point to
yes,
point A to point
yes,
B. Like, come
that,
on, let's get up. Now, I will say
yes.
have you taken on though some of your dad's like
Mhm.
travel tendencies? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, people will be like, okay, well, what time are we getting on the road tomorrow? I'm like, set your alarm for 4:30 in the morning. And they're like,
Yes.
what?
This is vacation. And we're like, yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
vacation.
yeah,
Yeah.
we got to get there. That's why I'm not spending the entire day in the car. Okay. They're
Right.
like, but it's the same amount of time. And I'm like, no, we're going to get there, get up before everybody else gets moving. You will thank me when we get there.
Yes, exactly. Well, and then too, well, okay, so we've had this discussion too, but like every time I see the Grand Tetons, the first
Ugh,
time I see the
yeah.
Grand Tetons, I cry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so
It's
breathtaking.
incredible.
And
Yeah.
I, of course, love Yellowstone too, and they're right there together.
Yeah.
But I always kind of joke because I say Yellowstone's so great because I can get my nerd on because there's all the
Yeah.
wildlife and the geothermal
Yeah.
and everything.
Yes.
So, but
The
it's so
geothermals are so cool.
amazing. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be rolling into Yellowstone at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You need to be
No.
getting into Yellowstone as soon as those gates open because there's
Oh, heck
so
yeah.
much to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because like one thing I also found out, I did the whole thing because I was traveling. I got the park pass and, all the
Yes.
things. And then, I was like asking one of the park ranger, okay, like when's the best time to come? He's like, well, like we're open 24 hours. And I was like, what? And he
I
was
did
like,
not
yeah.
know
And
that.
I was like, Yellowstone, they said they were like, we're open 24 hours. And I was like, why are people in line then? And he was like, it's just they want to get up and get their breakfast and everything else. And I was like, oh no, that will not be me. I'll be here at 4 in the morning.
I did not know that. You just taught me something. Now we would get up early every day and get through. Um, the last time we were there, we stayed in West Yellowstone, so we were just
I
like
did
right
too.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
I love West Yellowstone.
I do too. Did you
So
happen to
cute.
see right there outside to the I'm forgetting the word, but it's like the bear and wolf.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. That was
Encounter. It's like a little like encounter, like, well, it's like educational or whatnot.
yeah, but did you go in and see it? Were you able to go in?
I didn't go in.
Yeah,
No.
if you ever get to do it, it's really cool because basically they take on, I'm not sure the story of the wolves, but like the bears are all bears that like kept going into neighborhoods and communities and stuff and
Hmm.
that would otherwise have
Yeah.
been euthanized. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of a rescue for the animals,
Yeah.
but
They're all
it's,
numbered.
yeah.
Yeah. I follow the Yellowstone like Facebook page. And so they're always like, posting, and it's so fun. It's a good follow too for anyone who's interested, because if you follow it throughout the year, you get to see it in the different seasons.
I
And so
love
it
that.
also is a really good indicator as to like when you might want to go, because people post all about like what they do while they're there during the different seasons and all of that good stuff, and what they see. And so, it's a really, I definitely recommend doing stuff like that if you're going to be heading out there. But yeah, I'll have to go in and check it out next time. I did do a lot of kind of research just through like that page and then like
Oh yeah.
Googles and stuff like that beforehand. But
Well, we
there's just so
stumbled
much
upon
to
that.
do.
Oh, crazy, yes. And we stumbled upon the bear wolf thing because our
Yeah.
hotel was right across the street.
Oh
And we
yeah.
walked out
I
and
know
we
exactly
could
where you were.
yes, and we could hear the wolves and we were like, what the heck? And of course I'm like, they're,
Yeah.
it's like big dogs. And
Yeah.
so
You're
and
like,
then
oh, you're like, come
yeah, exactly. They're so cute. And it was funny because I'm so easily entertained too. But when we were there, one of the bears, they would give them um well, they have one whole exhibit that was fascinating to me where they turn the bears loose with every different kind of trash can imaginable to see like which ones they could
which
get
one?
into and which ones they
Yeah. Oh,
couldn't and
that's
how long
cool.
it took. And
Yeah.
they had them all out where you could see like this is what.
The best kind. Yeah.
Yes, but one of the things they would do is they gave one of them an igloo and he had the igloo cooler and they had it all strapped up and everything. And he was out there and they were watching to see what he would do with it. And it's so crazy, but they had filled it with like fish or something and it was strapped and he couldn't get the straps off, but he figured out to pop the little drain hole and then
And
he
he
would
drank the,
yes, and then he would submerge it and fill it up to rinse and drink more. And then he would submerge it.
that is so crazy. What a
It was
smart bear.
yes, it was nuts. And so they do all
Aw.
those things and they watch them, and they kind of learn from
Yeah.
them. But like
Uh-huh.
he had and they said that one guy, they were like, oh yeah, he's our cooler guy. Anytime we have anything like this, we give it to him because he's relentless. And the other bears were kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And he was like rolling around in the water with that cooler. And
He's like,
I
I
could
know something's coming out of
yes, and he knew how to
this.
yeah, and I could have sat there all afternoon and just watched him do that. It was
Oh
fascinating
my
to me
gosh.
just to watch
That's
him
so
figure it
cool.
out. Yeah, it's
Oh
really
my
neat
God.
though.
Animals are incredible. I mean, they really are. Like people, like, I mean, I know this is like blasphemous, but the people who are like, I mean, it's just a dog or like whatnot,
Mhm.
and like they'll say like Malbec won't remember his sister, and I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, yes, he will. And I'm just like, how sad for you that you that you did not grow up with some lack of something that doesn't give you that like perspective of animals, because they're just so incredibly smart. I actually was
Yes.
even just talking about like dogs aside. I was telling some of my friends, which they couldn't believe, we had a rat when we were growing up
Oh, they're
when we lived in
smart
California.
too.
They're so smart. I was telling them a story about how we had had a parakeet before and it either flew away or something, who knows.
Yes.
We were told it flew away, but so we still had its cage and we used that as the rat cage. And so, a bird cage or at least ours did, the door like lifted up.
Mm-hmm.
And well, the birds couldn't figure it out, right? But this rat would open the door and get out. Well, we figured out he was opening the door and getting out, and so we would put a twisty tie on it. He would undo the twisty tie and get out. I mean, you would just call him and he would like come back, but like he would get out.
Yeah.
I think eventually he actually did leave, but yeah, he was so smart. I mean, he's so smart. I'm like, they can, how can you just think these are just like things that don't have some sort of mind activity, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and likewise too, when they say that, you know, they don't have feelings or they
Right.
don't. And
No,
yeah,
no. I was crying over some stupid show the other day, and Malbec came over and was so upset. He was just like, "Mom, what's wrong?" And I was like,
yes.
"Like the dog died on the show or whatever."
Yes, yes.
And he's like, "Come here, Malbec, isn't that so sad?"
I need a hug. I need a hug.
I know. Come snuggle with Mama.
Yes. Well, so Chuck and Barney, the two wolf mixes, the floofs.
I saw one walk by in the background.
Oh yeah,
a little bit ago.
Oh yeah. Every now and then you'll see like one of them go over the back of the
like
chair.
the ear, and it's like just the ear and like the tail walking through.
Yes, yeah. That's why I leave the door open, because sometimes they'll come and put their heads right. Like Chuck likes to get
Speak of
right
the devil. There goes
do they come in? Do they come in? Oh yeah, there you are. Hey buddy. Hey Chuck. Come here, buddy.
Oh, Chucky.
Hi buddy. Oh, he came this way. Here, you want to come up? You can come up. Oh, he's going around. But it's funny because our little Roscoe, that was our tiny little healer. Barney was hilarious because Barney, do you remember the old Looney Tunes?
Oh my gosh.
The cartoon with the Yeti, where the Yeti would have him.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I'm going to
hug you and squeeze you and
I will call him
George.
Yes. Well, that was totally Barney with Roscoe. And Roscoe
so
would just be like, help me out here. But I'd come in and, Roscoe was older, but Barney was so much bigger. And I'd come in and Barney would like have his arm around Roscoe and just be, and Chuck would spoon him sometimes too. Roscoe would lay on the floor at the corner of the bed and I'd come in and Chuck would come and just wrap right around him. But Barney, like we used to joke, we were like, I think Barney thinks Roscoe is his dog. And Barney it's
his like stuffed animal.
Yes. And Barney was like the Yeti with him. Well, back in November, Roscoe got very suddenly sick and we lost him. And like Barney that we lost Roscoe on Friday, and on Saturday night, and Barney's nonstop. Like you can see that was Barney. They're nonstop all the time. And Barney was just sitting at the back door, just sitting, looking out in the backyard. And then he used to always perch at the top of the stairs. That was kind of like I guess, surveying his kingdom. And and he could kind of get a little rest, a little respite up there. It was a little bit more peaceful. And around the corner, and Barney was perched on the bottom step, all 4 feet like lined up, like all balanced, and just like looking like he was ready to spring. And it's like he was just looking at that spot because he just knew any minute Roscoe was going to round that corner and be there. And he was going to go up, but it's people think, oh yeah, they don't, whatever. But no,
they know.
He knew.
No, they even say that that especially if they're bonded like that if you're able to have them see after the other passes away so that they understand, because they will just like wait, like look for them, and so you could never ever convince me that that's not the case, because Malbec used to, after my friend adopted his sister, they would be in the parking lot, and Malbec and I would either be like out at a brewery or like at that dog bar, and I wouldn't have even seen them yet. And Malbec I could tell he's like going, I was like, somebody must be here. Like I would tell my friends, I'm like, somebody's here that he knows. And sure enough, she would come running in and he like just knew. And like, I was like, there's no way he could have seen her before that. Like, it's like he either has a very good sense of smell, or I don't know. They just have that like intuition or something. I don't know. But like, it was like weird because like, I'm not kidding. He just started pulling me one day when we were at this one brewery in Charlotte. And all of my friends were like, what is he doing? Because he's usually just like lays under the table, like it's pretty chill. And I mean, he was like pulling, pulling, pulling. And then we get to the corner and their car goes by and parks and she gets out of the car. And I was like, what in the, I'm like, how? I'm like, did you guys like drive by with her head out the window or, and she was like, no. And I was like, Malbec was like pulling me over here. I was like, it's just wild. I'm like, he knows for sure.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
When Landry was born, I had 4 dogs then, and one of them was Murphy. And Murphy was a little he was blonde, we think maybe like a border collie lab mix.
Yeah.
And Murphy, bless his heart, someone had not been kind to him before we
Oh,
rescued him. And so he always had a
worst kind
little
of
bit
people.
right, yes. And so Murphy had always been he had a little bit of timidity, he'd be kind of timid
Sure.
and a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it was really funny. And it was interesting to see how, when we brought Landry home from the hospital when she was born, how all 4 of them had different responses to
I'm
her.
sure.
But the thing, like we had a yellow lab, Daisy, and Daisy was funny because she would like stick her head in Landry's swing and run forward and then run backward and run forward and run backward, with the swing. And she didn't know
What a
what
big
was going
help.
on. Right. But just like, I'm watching her. And then we had a black lab, Kendall, that was the sweetest thing. But Kendall was very like, "Do-do-do-do." And
Yeah.
I don't think Kendall even noticed Landry was there
Yeah.
for a while. But Murphy was so funny because Murphy was always really serious. And it took us so he didn't show any interest in being like he wasn't up sniffing on her. He wasn't like Daisy. He didn't have his head in the swing or anything. But then one day I noticed that from the day we brought her home, he laid across the threshold of the door of whatever room she was in.
Yeah. He was
And
like, I have a job and it is to protect this little thing.
yes. And if you didn't know any better, you would think he had no interest in her whatsoever. Someone would
Mhm.
think he was just totally. And at first I kind of thought that he, I guess maybe like Kendall, he just kind of hasn't noticed she's here yet or whatever. And then all of a sudden we realized one day that, because he had never done that before, and he positioned himself across the threshold, and
Sweet.
no one got in the room
Yeah.
that she was in without
Yeah.
getting past him.
Coming through him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet. Yeah. Malbec does a similar, I mean, he usually, when it's just us at home, he's like super chill. He usually will come in at night and like lay with me until we're really like settled. And then he like moves to the end of the bed.
Mhm.
And then eventually he just gets down. And then he's usually off the bed for a while. And then in the morning he comes, first thing, comes back in and snuggles. But if I am somewhere where there's multiple people, or like if I'm over at my parents or something like that, he has to be in a location where he can see where everyone would be coming from. And so at my parents' house, for instance, they like most of their rooms are on, like if you're looking at the house, the left side of the house. So he sleeps in the living room so that he can see the front door and where
Yeah.
everyone's rooms are. And like if I go on vacation with my friends, like sometimes I go with a friend and our dogs to Oak Island, and it's a quad. And so it's set up with 2 and 2 rooms and then all the living spaces in the middle. And he'll sleep with me at first. And then he goes out into the main area so that he can see where everyone is. He doesn't even like it if we're out on the beach and somebody else walks away. He'll stare at them like the whole time, like a crazy person, because he's like, wait, somebody has left the circle of trust. Where are they going? And who are they talking to?
I need you back here. I need everyone
I'm
back
going to
here.
need you to return to the circle. You don't have your buddy. You do not have your buddy with you right now. Don't talk to those strangers.
Right. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
And same if someone tries to like enter the circle before I tell him that they're okay,
Oh.
he'll bark at them. and he won't, like, he'll run up and bark at them. And I'm like, oh, great. And I'm like, Malbec, and I'll have to like get him and introduce them and then he'll chill. But like, he'll let them know, like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. He's serious
What are
about
you
his
doing coming
job.
in? He's like, I am the sheriff in these parts. Okay.
You said that's your nickname for him, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So actually, someone thought his name was Sheriff at one point because at the dog bar we used to go to, they had those, those plastic, like, I they have them at like dog parks and stuff now, but they're like the plastic, like one side is stairs, one side's like a ramp, like
Mhm.
whatever. And so he would go get up on top of it and just stand on the top of it and like look around. And like, if dogs were like playing too hard, he would bark at them. And if they didn't stop, he would go to them and bark at them. And I'd be like, oh, here goes Sheriff again. And my friends would be like, oh, Sheriff's on duty or whatever. And so then one day, I don't even remember what it was, why I called him by his actual name. And I was like, Malbec, come here. And somebody was like, wait a minute, I thought your dog's name was Sheriff. And I was like, oh no. I was like, he just acts like the sheriff.
That's just his job title.
That's just his job. He's on duty. So,
his business
it's just
card
like when
reads.
you take, right. It's just like when you take off a service dog's vest, he can actually be himself, like
Yes.
Malbec enters into like the dog park and he is on duty.
He's got his little badge.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. That's the best.
He's
Oh.
funny.
Well, thank you so much. I love this. I love him. I love y'all.
Of course.
Your whole setup, your rig and your
my
lifestyle and everything. So,
well, we love it. We actually were just out in the rig last night. We went over to a local park here because I don't know about you guys, but it is spring break this week for the kids, and my niece and my nephew just live down the street, and so my sister and her husband are taking them to Universal tomorrow through Friday. And so I'm taking the rig down to go to Universal with them on Wednesday, and which is so great. So big tip, if ever. So my sister and her husband are staying on at the resort, and most places you can find like a state park or something, or a county park, and I found a county park that has a camp spot that's 4 miles away from Universal Studios for $20 a night.
Oh my gosh. You absolutely cannot beat that.
So I was like, hey, I'm just going to book it. If I can go, I can go. If I can't, I need to work, then that's fine. So I booked it. So anyway, Malbec and I were in the rig last night, just cleaning it and making sure that everything was good to go. So we'll be back in the rig again. So it's been fun to have and be able to just kind of randomly use it and take advantage of these locations that have amazing opportunities for inexpensive, and you have all your stuff with you.
Yes.
And most importantly, your dog.
Yes. Well, and whenever the article comes out, I hope you're going to post.
I will let you know.
Yeah. Definitely.
I did recently get one. So Malbec and I are in just our picture is in it right now. Actually, yeah, just one of our pictures is in it right now. Same magazine, but we have another photo that's going to be in an upcoming edition, and then an article that'll be in a future edition. So when it comes out, I will let you know.
Yes, I'd love to share them with this too. So, and I'll let you know when it drops.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, have a great night, and thank you, and give him Snuggles for me.
Yeah, Becky boy, say bye.
Hi, buddy.
Maybe one of these days when you guys come to another Disney, I'll bring him back and
Oh my
you guys
gosh.
will have to come. We'll probably stay at Fort Wilderness or something, and you guys will have to come over for dinner or something and
Well, then
see
you won't be
Malbec.
able to get me out of the rig. I'll just be like, I'll be here, y'all. See
You'll be
y'all.
like, I live here now.
Yes. As much as I love Disney, we did the big trip in January, and it's funny because I came home and I said, I found out the one thing that I do not like about Disney. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Disney is full of service dogs.
Oh,
I
that
can't
drives me
pet
crazy.
service dogs.
I know.
I
Well,
love service
and
dogs, but
I
I
know.
can't pet service
Well,
dogs.
not only that, but it makes me like, I mean, I just, especially in like the heat of summer, I worry so much about them and their feet. And I
Yes.
just, I know that they have a job and I'm sure that they take precautions and all the things, but like, I don't know. I've seen a few that I'm just like, that dog needs
Oh,
to have paw protection. Does it need
yes.
water? Like, do you need me to take it to the shade?
Yeah. I'll hold it for you.
You need
Yeah.
me to follow you around and be your service dog, your
Yes.
service human for your service dog.
I'll be your service dog Sherpa. I'll do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
be happy to do that. Well, fortunately, we were there in January, so the weather and
Yeah.
everything
It's
was
not as
really,
bad.
yeah, it
Mhm.
was all
Mild.
good. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Well,
but
good. Well,
yes.
I hope to see you all again soon and
Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that you are busy, and I really appreciate that you chose to spend some of your time with me. So let's do a little bit of bookkeeping before we head out. If you enjoy this and you would like to receive the episodes automatically without having to seek them out, then in your podcatcher, follow or subscribe. And that way, every time an episode drops, it'll show up for you and you'll know that it's there. Makes it super easy. You don't have to think about it. Please go visit the website. It's really cute. It's got puppy pictures. Also, I've got a free gift for you over there if you will go check it out. And if you would like to message me, if you have any suggestions, specific pup stories you want to hear, or even better, if you want to share a story, you can message me right there from the website. That's the best way to get to me for that. Check us out on all the different socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. That's where you'll see pictures of the pups that we talk about each week. Also, just other fun pup things. I'm going to put episodes on YouTube as well. Sometimes the episodes are recorded via Zoom, and so there's video. A lot of times it's just us talking, but every now and then there are some fun cameos from puppies or there's shenanigans in the background, and you can catch all that on YouTube. If you want to help me out, if you would leave a positive review and share the podcast, that would be fantastic. I would be really grateful. And once again, if you want to help me out, I would love to share your story. So please hit me up and let's schedule a time that we can talk. Some people have shared their stories in writing. Some people have gotten on the phone and done a chat with me. So we can do whatever you are most comfortable with. Finally, do not forget that you are as great as your dog thinks you are, and go smooch your pooch. Thanks, y'all.